Hi, everybody. I am so excited to be back with another season of the Wonder of Anime podcast. For this episode, I wanted to jump in on post with a couple of disclaimers just because there's a lot going on in this episode. While I'm speaking at certain moments, you may hear the cutest little adorable voice you've ever heard. That is my son. He was with me during recording. So if you notice a little voice behind me at certain moments, that's what that is. You may also notice at some point my video lighting changes as well. That was my son moving my ring light or moving my camera, and you may see me adjusting that. But other than that, this is such an incredible conversation, disruptions and all, and I really hope that you enjoy it. As you've seen from the title, this is the My Hero Academia episode, so there will be My Hero Academia spoilers. Not a lot, not the current season or the end or anything like that. It's an anime-only episode, but there will be also some mention of vigilantes towards like the last 10 minutes. Other than that, I am so excited to be back, and I hope you guys are excited to listen to this new season. I have so many incredible guests coming up. I spent the last 2-3 months recording interviews, and you guys will all be getting those soon. Thank you for listening and, watching this little quick disclaimer, and let's get into the episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Wonder of Anime podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and this is a bi-weekly anime podcast about everyone's favorite anime. That's not what I say, but we're just going to go with it. I am so excited for this episode. It's been I think at this point we have been talking about it like since Anime NYC, so it's been a couple months in the making, but I am so excited to have Morgan Perry with me. If you don't know, Morgan Perry is the marketing manager at Square Enix, Manga, and Books. And I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I know we've been talking about this for a while.
We have, and we're going to get into what we'll be talking about. But before then, is there anything you can tell us about what your role as a marketing manager is or what you do?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of everything over, because it's a super small team on the Square Enix Manga and Books team. So everything related to marketing, whether it's paid, organic, or social. Do a little bit of light design work as well. So anytime you see those graphics that we do for all the different announcements, those are done by me. And just kind of interfacing with awesome people like you to talk about manga and all the different cool, awesome stuff that Square Enix is publishing. That's the base bones version, because I feel like I could talk forever about marketing. So hit me up later if you want to ask about marketing questions, I guess.
No, I get it's like you work at your job and you're like, you think about your role and you're like, well, actually, unrolls like scroll and you're like, here's all my things.
Yeah,
I
feels
just
like that all
love
the time.
that. So before this, had you been in the manga anime industry, or is this like your first time in the manga and anime industry professionally?
So I was adjacent. I was in the Western comics publishing arena for about 7 years. I worked, I initially got my start at Boom Studios, which is the publisher for Something's Killing the Children, and Berserker, which is the comic by Keanu Reeves. And then I moved over to Skybound Entertainment, working on things like Invincible and The Walking Dead, and launching their Skybound Comet graphic novels program, as well as the Energon universe, which was the relaunch of Transformers into the Western comic space under the Skybound Image logo. But I've always been an anime and manga fan. I'd been an active reader for a number of years. It was how I got into comics. And I had low-key, like, on the internet, on Twitter, had been, like, doing mild back-of-the-napkin analysis of manga sales pre-pandemic and advising comic shops on how they should be carrying manga, because they were like, what do I do? There's this new thing. It wasn't new, like, obviously, but comic shops have a little bit more difficulty carrying manga, and now we're seeing them carrying more and more of all of it. But it was kind of due to just yelling about it on the internet, being connected. And then an opportunity came up at Square Enix, and I was like, well, I can do all of these things. Let's apply and find out. And I had a lot of folks that I was friends with at other manga publishers, whether it was like Yen or Viz and stuff like that were really encouraging and had kind of seen what I had been doing. And were like, you should go for it. Join us on this side of the fence, please. So that's kind of where I am now.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I always, when you said you were yelling on the internet about it, because I'm like, that's what I do. I mean, like, I yell on the internet about it, and people are like, oh, it's just social media or whatever. And it's like, no, you make so many connections, and you can, like, find a new career path. I think that's just so cool. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
And then you had all your little friends, like, yes, come
all
on,
my
join
little
us.
friends. like I was making weird TikToks about like books that I would buy at like Kinokuniya. Like I was not in the manga space. I was just enjoying buying manga and like going to my local store and like doing hauls and just being like, I really like this, and just doing like my little book reviews of like, oh, this one was really good. I think retailers should carry it. These are the comps for it. Blah 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 blah. And then I get to do that professionally, and I'm like, all right, sick.
Yes,
This
and
is
it's
amazing.
like your expertise was needed because they're like, okay, come join us. Like you
Yeah,
obviously
they were
know what you're
growing.
talking about. Oh, I love that. I think especially too, there's so many. I always love following people that it's just so clear they love what they're talking about. Like, I think a lot of times in any fandom space, there's a lot of people that see an opportunity, like, I can make this a career. And there's people that are like, I just love this. Like, I just want to yell into the void. And then now organically you have a career. Like, well, you were in the career, but now you have a manga specific career.
Yeah.
That's just so, I love that story. And you mentioned that you were into, anime and manga all your life. Do you remember specifically how you ended up getting into, and did you get into anime first or manga first? What was that journey like?
I think if we like really dig back deep, it was probably anime first because I grew up in a really small rural town in Louisiana, so we did not have a lot of access to stuff. But I do remember watching Yu-Gi-Oh when Yu-Gi-Oh was like on like 4Kids and stuff like that. So that was kind of like my first introduction to anime, but we really didn't know like that was anime when you're that young. And I remember distinctly being at like a KB Games or something, and they had like a tiny little shelf that had anime DVDs on it, and they had Rurouni Kenshin. And I picked up Rurouni Kenshin for the first time. This was before we knew anything about what went down with Rurouni Kenshin, so I'm so sorry. But that kind of got me into anime, which led to things like watching stuff on Toonami. It led to Yu Yu Hakusho. It led to Full Metal Alchemist. But I think like Full Metal Alchemist was probably the one where I was like, oh, I'm hooked. I'm hooked on this. This is great. In terms of the manga, it was kind of a similar path of like, I'm this weird Yu-Gi-Oh kid in this real rural small town, and we're walking through our Walgreens. My mom's picking up photos, and there's this random giant phone book magazine amongst all of the other stuff. Me not realizing it's a Shonen Jump, me just seeing Yugi like on the cover, like Yami Yugi on the cover, picking it up and gravitating towards it. I'm a kid that likes to write. I'm a kid that likes to draw. This is the first time that you're like, oh, I could do both at the same time? This is awesome. And then you read the story for Yu-Gi-Oh! And you get your 19 pages in, and then it immediately switches to One Piece. And I thought I had been like I didn't understand the concept of what a Shonen Jump was at 12 or 13 years old. And so that led to getting the subscriptions for manga, and then it was just kind of like all downhill from there, which led to going to like art school for comics and having a BFA in sequential art. But like during that time also like kind of stepped back from anime and manga because there was such a clash between is manga real comics within the Western comic space, and we've now kind of like really brought that together where a lot more creators are very clearly manga and East Asian comics inspired with their works, and seeing a lot of success with that financially. And so I'm so glad that like the industry has kind of switched over to like manga or comics and bringing it all together and seeing their value. It's a much longer answer than I think you were expecting.
No, I love the lore. I like everyone's lore. I'm like collecting it. But I didn't know that there were the magazines here because I discovered manga in my local library. But I was into anime because of like same as you, like a Digimon, Pokemon, it was card captors, and I didn't know it was anime. And then when I finally discovered that it was anime, I think I would have been around the 5th grade when Adult Swim was showing Inuyasha. And then I went to the library and I saw Cardcaptor Sakura, and I was like, I know this character, but the names are different, like something's different there. And then they said they had Ranma, and it was like Ranma by the same person as Inuyasha. And I was like, well, I know Inuyasha. Like, I'm familiar with that. So but I didn't know. I mean, I obviously know about like the magazines and everything in Japan, but I didn't know we had any here at that time. I remember like the gaming magazines. I think that's the most that I saw. And some games are like imported from Japan. So I was like, oh, these look like anime characters, but they were for games. But I didn't know we had the manga magazines. I was missing
we did
out.
for a very brief period of time, and I still have like my first issue that I ever got because it was like the one I never got rid of, where I was like, I need to keep this for posterity. But I had the same thing where I was like reading the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, and I'm like, who's Chonouchi? Like, who is this? Like, what is this?
They're like, this is Samantha, and you're like, okay, I guess this is Samantha.
Like, all right.
It's like, I love that part too, where it's like, then you're like, I know this universe, but now I'm learning so much that's like not in the show.
Yeah.
I didn't get into Yu-Gi-Oh, but I was like, my cousins were into it, but I was like, once you got the cards, you lose me at cards. I'm like, okay, I don't get
And
it.
this was like the storyline too had like just started in Shonen Jump, so they were doing everything pre-Duel Monsters. So we knew everything from the Duel Monsters anime, but we had never gotten season 0. I'm like, why is this so dark? Why is he killing people?
People are dying. You're like, people are dying.
We
thought I forget what, somebody did a TikTok about it, and they were like, they thought something else happened, and they were like, oh no, that's just the American edit. They were actually dying. I was like, oh no.
There's like the 4Kids edit of like one of the scenes from Duel Monsters where the security guard goons are going after Kaiba, and they're like pointing really weird, but like in the original cut they actually have firearms.
Oh my god.
And they like remove them from the American cut. So there's a lot going on there. I wish we could get like season 0. I probably need to we probably can get season 0 somewhere, and then like the uncut versions of the Japanese version, or yeah, probably on Crunchyroll. I don't know. I'll have to go look.
Somewhere.
So
if you're listening to us, people who make these decisions, figure it out. Get us the access.
Season 0.
I think it's so funny because I'm just like, I missed the whole like Yu-Gi-Oh thing, but I think at that time too, at least where I was, it was very Pokemon versus Yu-Gi-Oh, and it was like Pokemon versus Digimon. Like somehow you couldn't be both. Like you just had to choose one.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I really like Pokemon, so
that's so funny
where
because we were in a Digimon versus Pokemon area where like you could like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, but if you like Digimon and Pokemon, like there was something like you had to decide.
I love both. Like I'm like, they're so different. They're not the same. So
you can have both.
You get, why not? ¿Por qué no los dos? I say that all the time. So now we are getting into my favorite part of the show, your favorite part of the show, where you are going to tell us about one of your favorite anime. And for this one, I always tell guests, sometimes I know about it and sometimes I don't. This one, I know about it. I made it my personality for some time. But isn't everything my personality? That's just who we are as people. But you are going to be telling us about My Hero Academia, which for this purpose of this conversation, you're going to be anime only because I'm not caught up. I've not read I never read the manga.
Nice.
I'm so excited because I remember we had this conversation and immediately you said My Hero Academia, like this is what I'm going to be talking about. And when I feel people that have the same level of passion as I do, I'm like, oh, we're locked in. So I'm so excited. And if you can tell us, hold on, make sure I'm doing the questions in order. What is My Hero Academia?
So, My Hero Academia is a story that was created by Kohei Horikoshi. It debuted in Weekly Shonen Jump, I think, like the first week of July in like 2014. And the story it takes place in a world where people have superpowers. 80% of the population has been gifted with these things called quirks that kind of just manifested kind of out of the blue one day, starting with like a small baby in, I think it was like China is what they said in the original story. And it snowballs into a whole society that builds itself around superheroes as like career choices and quirks being part of society and everybody having these different types of powers. And our main story follows Izuku Midoriya, who is a teenager, but you find out that he's one of the 20% that is completely quirkless and doesn't have a quirk. And that has really affected him in ways because all he wants to be is a superhero to help people. He absolutely adores and idolizes the main superhero of the show, or the society, All Might. Loves everything about All Might, is the biggest All Might fanboy, and just wants to be a hero. He ends up getting a quirk. He ends up meeting All Might and realizing that All Might he himself was quirkless and has this power called One for All. And is able to become his successor. And then the story kind of goes from there, and it's his hero's journey of becoming the world's greatest hero.
I'm just remembering when I first saw I'm like, yes, it's changed so much. Not changed, but like where it's evolved to. You're like, I forgot those details. So
I also don't want to give too much away.
Oh, no. I feel like, okay, for people, we're going to talk up to the last season. So how did you get introduced to My Hero? Did you discover the anime first or the manga? What was your journey into the show?
So I discovered My Hero at a time in my life where I was not engaging with manga and anime. I was actively like not watching or reading wasn't caught up on anything. I didn't know what was hot. I didn't know what the new was. I was firmly in Western comics. I was working at Boom Studios. I was a big Teen Titans fan, and one of my coworkers came up to me and was like, "Hey, you really love Teen Titans. Have you checked out this anime or manga called My Hero Academia?" And I was like, "Oh man, I don't really read manga or watch anime." And but okay, cool. Like, you've never really like missed on your recommendations to me, so let me check this out. And so I found the anime first, and I watched the first 2 seasons that were available on Hulu. And I don't think I was like fully hooked in those first 2 seasons, but it was enough for me to actually get a Funimation account and continue watching like the subs, because I was just watching dubs at the time, so please don't hate me, don't come at me. I love both. I will do both. I love both. And I was watching the 3rd season subbed and kind of was like, cool, I'm in. And just, again, like you, made it my whole personality for many years.
It's funny because also this is a dub safe zone. We do not hate dub. I hate dub versus sub people, but I also like switch both. Between both. Yes. So I funnily enough was also recommended My Hero by my best friend, and I saw the first 2 episodes and I was like, hell no, this is not for me, girl. What is this America? I remember telling my friend, I'm like, what's this America guy? Like, you're doing too much. And she was like, Lisa, like, trust me. So I like put it down for a little bit, and then this was in 2019. And then I was like, okay, I don't have anything to watch. Like, I'll just try it. Like, and this is my best friend. Like, she knows me like up and down. Like, she'll tell me a show isn't for me. So I'm like, there has to be something here that like she sees that I would want to watch. So I finished everything, and then I was really like, they got me at the end of that first season, because I thought it was like, okay, we're in school, superpowers, whatever. And then when the villains like hijacked the field trip, I was like, well, this is getting kind of like darker than I thought. Like, it was getting more serious than I thought it was gonna be. And I was like, okay, you got me. And I think I caught up with the first 2 seasons. And then that next spring, it was the 3rd season was starting. And I was like, okay, y'all got me. But initially I was just like, what is this? And it's funny because like what kind of I didn't understand the All Might character. And my friend was like, no, it's kind of like a parody. I was like, okay. But at first I was like, this is not for me.
I think it was an easier transition because I was so ingrained in Western comics, and so I could very clearly see the references that Hirokoshi was making. And I was like, oh, this is a guy that really loves American comics and really loves all of these different types of things, and is really paying wonderful respect and homage to these creators, to create this brand new superhero concept that had never really been seen before, with a unique Japanese only twist to it that it was so endearing and so charming, and it ended up becoming one of my favorite superhero stories of all time, if not my favorite superhero story of all time.
That's so interesting because I'm not in the comic. I just know like the Marvel movies or whatever. But I didn't really recognize like any of the influences until I see people do like videos or threads on it. And I'm like, wow, like it's, you know, because you have to know to know. So that must have been so cool. Like you working in that industry and being like, I can recognize this. Like that makes it so fun.
It was funny because I think, I don't remember if it was The Beat or if it was Bleeding Cool, but like one of my tweets got taken and posted in like a wrap up of one of the like My Hero Academia articles, and was talking about the influences in Western comics in My Hero. And I had said something along the lines, because Deku does this pose somewhere around, it would be, I think it's like season 5 or 6, but it's when he's like right about to start his Dark Deku era, where he's standing on the ledge and he is kind of doing that little lunge pose. And there's a very clear comic homage to I'm going to mess it up because I didn't research this beforehand, because I had a very long work week and I'm very tired. Okay. But there's a very famous Batman and Superman cover that is the exact same pose from both sides. And I remember posting the comparison pose of that plus those 2 issues, and they were like, and we're going to take your tweet and put in this article. And I was like, this is how I know I've made it. Oh no, I've been officially recognized. Don't perceive me, please.
Oh, I love that. I wouldn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't into other people. I'm like, I didn't even know. Like, that's so cool.
I could wax poetic about like the differences of like how All Might starts off as a Superman character, but then he ends up really being Batman. there's all these different things, and Deku is actually like a really big like Spider-Man influenced character, and you're like, man, Kohei Horikoshi, you love Peter Parker. You love that.
I learned that in the last season. I was like, when some people, that's when I was like, wait a minute, they're doing this? Because I didn't know that, like, the Spider-Man influences, and some people did some, like, tweets, and I'm like, oh my God, like, y'all are, I love that so much. Cause
whenever he uses Black Whip, I'm like, Spider-Man.
That's when people were like, that's when people were doing the threads, and I'm like, light bulb. I'm like, oh my God, I never noticed this. So you're watching it, you're seeing, you know, this influences from a field that you love and you work in. When did it hit you that this was going to be your favorite anime?
So I think it was sometime around season 3. It was Deku versus Kachan Part 2. And I was watching the subs at that time, and this is also when Bakugo became my favorite character as well, because I was kind of on the fence about everybody in the show, but Nobuhiko Okamoto's vocal performance in that episode at the end, where his voice breaks when he's saying, like, I'm the reason that All Might doesn't have his power anymore, like, why is it my fault? I was like, oh my God, like, this is so serious, and you have such more emotional depth than this, like, trash character that's like mean to everybody. You have more than one dimension. And then the series like really took a turn at that point too, because it was no longer All Might and Deku's story. Now Bakugo is involved. Now it's starting to get a little wider. The stakes are starting to raise up a little bit higher. We know something's going on with the League of Villains, but also All for One has made an appearance again. Uh-oh. And I was like, this is it, I'm hooked. Like, I'm gonna be sat every single time this episodes come out.
That particularly, too, it's like one of those moments, like every anime has that moment where you're like, oh, this is like I remember when I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and they are figuring out how the alchemist, the Philosopher's Stone is made, and your mind is literally, this is so much bigger than the universe. And I felt that way with this part that you're talking about, because I feel like Bakugo and Deku are positioned as like, Deku's trying to be the best and Bakugo's just this mean hater kid, and you're like, oh, you're so annoying. But then this kind of like, you see that emotional side to Bakugo that you really like haven't seen, and it's like, okay, the show is shifting and we're seeing it that way now.
Absolutely, 100%.
So
and also,
good.
like, Studio Bones was just cooking on that episode as well. Like, the animation on that was so good. And I was like, okay, amazing. If this is what we're going to get treated to... Like, I was also reading the manga at this point as well, and, like, knew what sort of story points were going to happen a little bit down the road, and was like, if this is what we're getting for this scene, what are we going to get when we get to these other scenes that are much more intense? And then we immediately shifted into like super light and slice of life episodes for a little bit.
I like that juxtaposition as I keep moving around the screen. I like that this, like, I know people don't really, like, sometimes they're like, oh, you get all this action, but I'm like, I think it adds to the stakes of the story where you're like, okay, like, yes, they're doing this, but they're still teens. Like, they're still in high school. And I feel like it adds to the gravity of the situation when you have them switching back and forth, because you're just like, okay, like, I see now why the stakes are so heavy.
We forget that they're teenagers without those moments, which is so cool. And I know, like, a lot of folks hate on the school festival arc. That is one of my favorite arcs ever, but also, we also don't get, like, original music in that way. And it's like, when you get to see that part animated and see them be like genuinely happy and be kids, you're like, this is so cool. And then we're immediately switching over to like season 7, season 8, and real stakes are involved, and you're like, oh, cool. And like, Kohei Horikoshi the entire time, the only trope he does not play into in My Hero Academia is, or with Western comics, is the whole like bringing somebody back constantly, the like Lazarus pit effect of it. And I found that really cool, but he did it in different ways, which I won't spoil. But it was a really unique way of being like, no, in this world people die. There are consequences. People perish and lose limbs and lose more limbs.
You remind me of that school festival arc, and I love that arc so much.
So
like, it's so fun. I'm like, it makes me think about and then you said made me think about how there's a lot of criticisms now in general, right? Like with TV shows where like each show is like 6 episodes, 8 episodes, and it's like bring back the 24 episodes. And then and I feel like My Hero, those earlier seasons did such a great job of that, because it is those like side episodes where you connect with the characters. Like I remember the festival arc, and Bakugo was the drummer, and I'm like, of course you're the drum. Like this makes, and he's like, oh, I guess like I'm gonna be drumming, and we're like, Bakugo, what else are you gonna be doing? Like this is so you.
We got more pieces of lore about each of the characters to like really care about them, and this is one of the few series too where I can't say I don't not like any of the characters. I mean, except Mineta. I don't really like Mineta, but I don't think anybody likes Mineta. But like, there are so many different things about these that he made them human in ways that other shonen anime sometimes doesn't necessarily focus on in very small, smart ways. Like, maybe I'm also biased because I like the festival arc simply because Kanabun did the opening theme song, and it was so good. And I love Kanabun.
Good. Mm-hmm.
It was so good. But yeah, I mean, that we needed that bit of levity before we hit it. And they're not filler episodes in the same definition. They're actually like canon parts of the story. And we don't get a lot of filler with MHA, which is great. Everything had a purpose. It was a way to introduce a new character. It was how we got introduced to Gentle Criminal, and it led into that. It was really, really cool, because, you know, those characters ended up coming back in different and unique ways, to help the story. Like, nobody was introduced without a purpose involved. Now, maybe Kohiro Koshi didn't have a full plan when he introduced these characters, but he wrapped it all up for everybody, and everybody got a really great time to shine.
Yeah, and I love that you made that distinction that they're not filler episodes, because I haven't read the manga, but I also didn't think that they were filler. But that's how people treat them, right? Like anything that's not the action is like filler, and it's like it's canon and it deserves to also be part of the story. I'm just it's like it's funny too, because with some of the later stuff, I'm like, I miss the school festival, I miss the challenges. Like yes,
yeah. Like, there's like
it's so good.
Yeah, and there are filler episodes within My Hero. There are like OVA episodes, like the board game episode is a filler episode that was not in the manga. There's like a whole like series of episodes that just recap seasons 1 through 6 or whatever, and you're like, what is this? And then we get into the meat of season 7, which is amazing. But yeah, most of the slice of life stuff that happens and all of the kind of shorter interaction things, those are canon in the manga. Like, they're part of the story, which is so fun to see. I love having those brief moments with people or in characters.
Yeah, me too. I think too, like the age, I feel like we're around the same age where, you know, we had those like episodes where something fun was happening, or you're reading the manga and they're like random bonus comic, them at the mall, and you're just like, yay! Like it does serve. I just love the purpose that it serves. But this kind of leads me into my next question, because we're kind of already talking about it. What is something about My Hero, whether like the characters or the plot, that people always get wrong, or if it's like a misconception about the series?
I don't know. I'm not necessarily in the fandom culture as much, so I'm not part of that like discourse or discussion. But I remember when I was, I know, it was for my own sanity, right? Nothing wrong with being part of fandom. It's just not for me. I've never been part of that culture. But like, one of the things I ran into a lot when people would be like, oh, what do you like? And I was like, oh, I like My Hero Academia. And they're like, why do you like My Hero Academia? That series sucks. And I'm like, well, why do you think it sucks? Like, Deku's a crybaby. And I was like, you mean he's breaking down the barriers of toxic masculinity? Because he shows his emotions and he actually feels things? Oh no. And like, yes, Deku is a crybaby in those couple episodes, and it is annoying, but it really like helps with his growth later on, especially if you've seen one of the more recent episodes in season 8 that just came out, where they actually mention the crying part, and how much he has changed and grown since his first interactions with All Might. That is a character quality of Deku that makes him so unique and so good. is that he is unafraid of showing those emotions. And I think that's why a lot of people were also like, Bakugo's an asshole. And he doesn't do this because he's the antithesis of Deku in almost every single way. But when we see Bakugo break down and cry in Deku versus Kachan, like, that is basically showing like they're not so different after all. There is some emotional value here. And I think that's probably the one bit when people come in being like, it's so boring, Deku's a crybaby, I just couldn't get into it. I'm like, if you can get to the end of season 1 with the USJ and you can actually see people get hurt, then I think you may change your opinion on it. But you do you.
Yeah, I have the same opinion. Listen, me and the Deku is a crybaby argument. I feel like anytime I think about this with Demon Slayer, with Tanjiro and Zenitsu, and I'm like, I will die on the hill that, like, it's okay. Like, yeah, they are crybabies, and like that is the
See
point.
what they're up
And
against? Cry
and like
too.
And Sailor Moon too. I went on Victoria's podcast, Moonies Club, and I spent like 30 minutes about like why Deku and Sailor Moon are not that different. And it's like that is that aspect to them. Like, yeah, like I also think it's this like, so obviously these worlds don't exist, but like you're in the middle of this world, like you think you're not gonna cry, like all this stuff is happening, and like, and you feel so powerless, especially like Deku, like he feels very powerless, he feels very helpless, like especially in the beginning when he does get the quirk and he's like, okay, but like why can't I do this, like why am I not mastering this, and like his whole body being torn to shreds, like yeah, that is frustrating, and it is that like element. I think like as a society in general, one of my biggest like gripes is that we have moved into like this cold and aloof culture where it's like uncool to care, uncool to cry, and it's like actually yeah, like we do feel things, and it's like through those emotional processes that's how we make sense of the world. You just can't eliminate that complete. Like I cry all the time. I'm also like a professional crybaby, so I'm like I love crying, like bring on the tears.
Yeah, you can show your emotions. It's okay. Like there's like a work culture in that as well, or at least there used to be, where it's like as like a femme in any sort of corporate situation, you should learn to keep your emotions in check. And I've actually been told like, oh, you're too emotional, or you're having such an emotional reaction. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. Would you say that to somebody else that was maybe not femme presenting in that way? So you have to kind of like check and reframe yourself, and like emotions are incredibly powerful, and when you are able to have that emotional reaction to something, like it can change somebody's opinion, or it can potentially influence a situation in a way that you weren't expecting. As long as you can be emotional, but you can be measured. There's no harm in that, as long as you're not hurting anybody with your emotions verbally or mentally. Like, feel what you need to feel.
Yes, ugh, especially that like work environment. Like if I get mad, I'm crying. Like unrelated to anime, but one time
Liquid
I had
anger.
a situation. I was like boo-hoo crying. I was like, wow, I've never cried like this before. But it's like that's the reality of life, and I again, my hero just has so many wonderful lessons in that. But then that moves me on to my next question, which what is an unpopular opinion that you have that you think the fandom wouldn't agree with you on?
I don't know. Again, like not in the fandom, so I don't know what the fandom
Me
discourse
either.
is. I will say one that I know that I've had to like fight, not fight, but like verbally disagree with people when, because I worked in Western comics for a really long time, and I've written it out and I have said it verbally on podcasts. My Hero Academia is the best superhero story out there right now. It is better than anything that is out. Like people are like, but Watchmen, and I'm like, it is better than Watchmen. And that is a bold statement. You can like Watchmen, that's fine. It's a completely different experience, but it has sold more copies than any other North American Western superhero story in a single run. So I'm not counting all of the different subseries of Batman, Superman, all of those reruns or reboots, whatever. And I will die on that hill that it is the greatest superhero story that's ever been made.
I find that it's because I don't like when I think about My Hero Academia, I don't know why I never think about it as a superhero story. And like that's literally what it is, right? And I'm just like now hearing you talk about it and the comparisons, and now knowing a lot more, thanks to you, about all the influences with the comics and stuff. I'm like, that makes sense. I am not that versed in there in regular comics aside from like the movie adaptations. But I will say it is a great superhero. I can't think of another superhero story. Like I'm like, my hero is a superhero story.
If I were to give like a stack, if someone came up to me and was like, I need your best superhero story recommendations, it would be on the stack, like next to Watchmen, next to Long Halloween, next to Superman Red Sun. Like it would be on the stack for somebody to read, because I do feel it needs to live among the pillars of the great publications within superhero culture. But I do think that it trumps all of them. I think it's a really good introduction to superheroes as well. I think it's a really good opportunity for comic shops to be able to cross-sell into manga if they are not having as much success with manga. It's a great transitionary story and series to use in that fact of like, I love this series so much, and I'm so glad that it's gotten all of the accolades and things that it deserves and the treatment that it's getting, and the fans are some of the best people that I have met, including you. But I've formed stronger bonds with like coworkers who I like force fed My Hero Academia. Like one of my very good friends and former bosses, who I'm still friends with now, we had this dynamic that people would refer to us as Endeavor and Hawks in the comics industry of number 1 and number 2 heroes. And that's like, that's always been like a really fun kind of like inside joke for us, is like number 1 and number 2 for a reason. And
that's so cool.
it's I need to get on him because I was like, did you finish it, bro? Like I need you to watch the Endeavor episodes because he's such an Endeavor fan. And yeah, it's been such a positive impact. I love it so much.
I wasn't gonna say my actual unpopular opinion because I feel like I don't want to get dragged, but I won't harp on it because I do feel like I don't feel like it's that bad, but people feel a certain way. I think the shipping is the most boring part of My Hero Academia. Like I'm a lover girl. I love ships, but I think like out of all of the things My Hero has to offer, and maybe because there is not a lot of like romantic subtext from my viewing of it, maybe there's more. I don't care about this love. Like, who cares about this? Deku's going through a crisis right now. Like, I don't need the love.
I'm with you. I am not a shipper either. I don't ship, like, again, like, not part of the fandom culture. I just enjoy it for what it is. I do think the ship names are hilarious. Like, the Endeavor Hawk ship name is Hot Wings, and I think that is the funniest thing.
I didn't know that one.
Yes.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure. I've seen, like, it was a couple years ago where it was, like, Hot Wings, and I was just like, okay, that's hilarious. I love that. Will I ever engage with shipping or fanfics? No, that's not really my jam. I like it for what it is. I was going to say something else in regards to that. But even, like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's no romantic subtext among the characters. You can read and see however you want to when you experience something. I'm never going to deny someone's validity in how they ingest or experience something, because they may see something in a character or a situation that I don't see because of my lived experience, and that's totally valid and okay. But even, like, Kohei Horikoshi himself, like, towards the end of the series is like, you interpret whatever you want to interpret, and I'm like, I love this for you. You're like, these are my babies, I'm just gonna let them out into the world. I'm not confirming or denying because I don't want anyone to hate me.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
and I think that's why it works too, right? Like, when you have such a blank canvas, like, I've seen ships that I'm like, now how'd y'all come up with this? Like, I've never seen these two characters in the same room. How is this a ship? So I like that part of it, and that's why I'm like, oh, because I think shipping has its thing, but for me personally, I'm just like, except for like Deku and Ochaku, which I'm like, I think everyone would like ship them, but I'm just like, everybody else, I'm like, you got it.
That's like the one where it's like, that's the only, like, that was the one I was referring to earlier. It's like do you guys think that Deku and Ochaku are going to get together? And he's like, you guys interpret the ending however you wish to interpret it. And I'm just
that's
like,
on you.
Okay, cool. That's on you. Exactly. Because he leaves it in such a ambiguous way. But, like, you can't ignore the fact that she literally is like, I am in love with him. And it's the same thing with, like, Toga, where it's like, Toga's like, I'm in love with him. I'm in love with her. I feel really strongly for all of these different people. But it's not explored in the official canon. So if you want to explore that, off-site and off-screen, go for it. Like you do you see what you can see and your lived experience. That is not my thing to comment on.
Same. No, I was like, you brought that. I think my other one is I loved Endeavor's arc. And this will be a little spoilery. In the last season, like his redemption arc, which is like,
Yeah.
are you redeemed? Are you not? I know a lot of people don't like when a quote unquote bad guy like gets this moment where he's like, okay, like I'm realizing like I messed up and I'm asking for forgiveness. But I thought that was like, and I haven't read the manga, so I always wait till everything is done before I dive into a manga of something. And I'm like, I can't wait to see how it's like done in the manga, because I thought that like overall was one of the most powerful like lessons in not only in My Hero but like in anime and in like as a show in general, because it's so, to me, the Endeavor arc is like, you can mess up, you can realize that you mess up and ask for forgiveness, and that doesn't mean that anybody has to forgive you, and like you just have to
Exactly.
eat, like you just have to live with it. And I thought like that's like the road less traveled, because people think like you ask for forgiveness and everyone's like, welcome back, we love you, and it's like, no, actually you were awful and I don't have to be around you and like accept that.
This man literally abused his family mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, all because he was trying to fit into society's mold and trying to be better than somebody else. Again, toxic masculinity ruins the party again. But like I actually really liked his arc as well, because he's such a good character, and I don't mean that as in like good as in he is a good person. I mean he is a well-crafted character in that you're introduced to him in one way, you formulate your opinion, and then as the story evolves and develops, you're like, oh, I understand how you could have walked this path and found this journey. This does not justify any of your actions or what you've done, and you are not entitled to anyone's forgiveness. And I love that, because he wasn't even like, he accepted the fact that he wasn't entitled to anyone's forgiveness. He didn't push it. He didn't make it their fault. He continued to be better and continued to try to find ways to reconnect with his family, even if they were like, nah, dude. And even I feel like after all of it, like his family still has the opinion and validity to be like, yeah, we went through that. Yeah, you lost some limb. Like we went through a big family tragedy that was very public, also in society. We're getting there, but you're not fully entitled to the, oh yeah, we're a happy family, everyone.
Yep.
Like that was a really interesting arc for him, and it's kind of the same way I feel about like Shigaraki and Toga and all of that, where I was like, these are not the. You're a product of this society. You're a product of everyone around you influencing you in a specific way. It's nature versus nurture. It's a really interesting societal commentary as well, as like, what if we introduced superheroes and the whole thing with heteromorphs and racism and all of these high concept, very topical, very real problems that are in our world are being so nuancedly explained in this story. And I think that's really important, to be able to have, teenagers or kids be able to engage with the story and see this happening and being able to ask questions and be like, well, and formulate their own opinions about what that was and these different, things that are going on in our world right now, and being like, hey, we're recognizing this as well.
It's so layered, it's so nuanced,
It
and it's like it explores so much. And I think about that, like the product of the environment, and I think that's why I like had it, when things get too real for me, I'm like, hold on, I gotta take a break because I was like, every episode I'm in shambles, I'm crying, I'm like, this is too real. This leads me to my next question,
Sure,
which
sure.
is, when you think about My Hero Academia's legacy as a whole, what do you think it is?
I definitely think it's still, it goes back to the earlier thing of like, I think this is going to be, or is one of the greatest superhero stories of all time. I think that is Kohei Horikoshi's legacy. Like, he is up there with like the greats in terms of Western comics, superhero publishing. Like, I don't think we can have a conversation about the influence of Western comics culture or the influence of manga without talking about Kohei Horikoshi and My Hero Academia, because of all of the influences that he pulled in from Western media. So like when we do have the history of comics, and that we need to have my hero in the conversation as well. Yeah, and I just, it's so good. It will be one that I go back to all the time. It will be one that I always recommend to people to start out with. I will always love seeing whatever Kohei Horikoshi does next, because his artwork has just leveled up so much. I love his art. I just have a connection with his artwork in a way that is so unique compared to a lot of other manga. It's while still being very manga, like in that realm. And I don't know how, I'm not explaining it correctly. I can't really
No,
put it in. I don't have the words to explain it.
the feeling is coming across.
Okay.
The feeling is coming across. I
Cool.
I think for me, when I think of My Hero, the legacy, I really think, at least in the United States, like before COVID, it was responsible for the pre-anime
Yeah.
boom that then happens. Or like I know people are like, oh, COVID, that's what everybody. No, I think My Hero laid a lot of
Yeah.
groundwork. You could not go to a single convention without people being
Yeah.
groups of everything. Generationally, so many people got into
Yeah.
My Hero, parents, kids, grandparents, and it was the way that it started was such like anybody could watch it. Like you didn't have to watch anime before, and I feel like you'd go to a hot topic and it was everything My Hero Academia, and you just cannot get to where we are with anime right now without My Hero, because I feel like before My Hero there had been like a lull where there wasn't like a major anime in the
There,
mainstream. And
no,
there
you're
was at
right.
least
It
for a
100%. I
while.
remember. No, no, you're right. You're right. Because I remember around like 2016, 2017, I was actually working as a manager in a Hot Topic, in addition to
I
working
love
as a
Hot
manager in a comic
Topic.
book store. And I remember, because this was also during the era of like, I am not engaged in anime and manga. And I remember seeing distinctly, like, this was like when Hot Topic was testing out the like anime corner of the store, and My Hero was part of it. And I remember like being part of Western Comics and being in a comic book store, and I'm like, what is this like superhero manga? This was way before someone was like, you should try it. And I was like, oh, the thing from the corner of the store. But it wasn't necessarily being engaged with in the same way that now you have like a whole side of the store that's all anime. And like, we're getting anime merchandising within the first season of things now. And you're like, wow, it would have taken 10 years to get this and imported back in my day. So,
Cries in Fruits Basket. Yes,
exactly.
it is like now I think people think of Demon Slayer, but like before there was Tanjiro, there was Deku bringing the uniforms.
Deku walked so Tanjiro could run. Like, that's how it really feels.
Yes, I definitely think like My Hero is that's what it is. Like and we can't, as much I think too, and this I feel like happens with everything, because I see it's all cyclical, and it's happening with Demon Slayer up until the movie. Now it's like, oh my god, we love Demon Slayer. It's like it gets to a point where things get too mainstream, and you have those people that like their whole personality is not being mainstream, and they can't like, I gotta separate and stuff, because I'll see the same people that were like, oh my god, Deku overhaul, that fight was crazy, because I was like online when that was happening, and then it's like, nah, My Hero's mid, and then it's like now coming back that it's ending, everybody's like My Hero, and it happens. Like when it gets to a boiling point, I'm like, I actually love when we're all engaged, like yes, but it's like people want to be too cool for the mainstream.
The amount of Bakugo fan art and the amount of Bakugo commentary and like positive affirmations for Bakugo that I've seen in like the last 3 months has been so nice. Like, y'all are all so positive, but like years ago it was like Bakugo's the worst character, like he's so awful and terrible, and My Hero is mid, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep engaging with this little thing that I like that brings me joy. Like,
yes.
I like it. It brings me joy. It makes me happy. It's my chicken soup. Like, let me eat my chicken soup.
I agree. Well, and that leads me then to the last question. In what ways has My Hero Academia impacted you and changed your life personally?
It was the manga, or it was the series that brought me back into manga and anime. It really kick-started my love of manga again. It reminded me why I liked manga and why I liked sequential medium as a whole, and also really led to this concept in my brain of manga as comics. and trying to find a way to bridge the gap between the two of them in my professional career, as well as just like personally advocate for it, because we deal with a lot of that in just comics in general. Like, we're already fighting up against the hill of like comics are just for kids, or comics aren't for adults, and comics aren't real books, and all of that kind of like nonsense. And we can't have the infighting as well, where we're like, manga's not real comics. Like, you can't have that argument and then also be trying to fight against comics aren't real books. Like, you need to be talking about the whole thing. But My Hero Academia like really inspired my love of manga again, and it has led to a lot of financially crippling decisions, and which is fine and great. I mean, I have a whole chair now that is just like Bakugo, and I
didn't notice until you said
like
oh, that's so cool.
He's my guy, and I see a lot of like his personality and like how I handle things, and it's nice to be able to see that in a character, and it's brought me to a lot of people that have impacted my life. It's such an easy connector, and it also brought back like why I like shonen manga, and like why I like different types of manga and those slice of life stories, and trying to find those different types of things. Like, you can have everything, you can have it all, like, and I don't know, again, not explaining it correctly, the words are not coming out. It is, if I could tell Kohei Horikoshi one thing, I'd be like, your series like changed the course of my entire personal and professional career, like, because you created this thing that so well meshed these two worlds that deserve to exist together, which are Western comics and manga. And you did it in such a respectful and wonderful way that was so uniquely Japanese as well, that made it its own thing and wasn't like an homage or ripping off anything. You brought joy, you brought stakes, you brought characters that people can see themselves into. This is a series that I've like seen so many different people be like, I'm a Yaoyorozu fan, I'm this person, I'm a Bakugo fan, it's not just like the main trio or whatever. It's all encompassing. Like, there are people who are like, I'm a Hawks fan, I'm Endeavor, like I da 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 da. Like, you can find yourself in this series in a way that is so uniquely diverse.
That was perfect. Oh, I love it. I think too, this whole conversation has just been so enlightening to the, because I mean, I think just existing, like comics versus manga, but having a series that really puts that all together and being that bridge, it's so awesome. I think for me, this is so funny because I'm such an open-minded person, but it's definitely like, don't judge a book by its cover, because I think
yes.
I usually like, I just know, normally I know what I like, and I'm like, I like what I like, I'm into it. And I think having now all the knowledge of My Hero, those first two episodes, like, I was being very unfair. I think I was being very judgmental of Deku. I find that like I was so unfair, I was so mean to Deku, and without knowing him. And I think now I am more likely to give something for a few more episodes, like, let it cook, as the kids say. Like, let me find out. I think sometimes 23 minutes is not enough, and I think I have become such a more open-minded person. And even when I tell people about My Hero, I was like, at first I hated it, and then I was like, no, actually I really do enjoy it, but I needed to get, and now it makes sense. And I think like I've just been more like willing, because I'm always willing to try something new, but I wasn't like giving it enough time. And I was like, okay, I can try more, because then I think by the third, fourth episode, I'm like, okay, the school concept's really cool. This whole, when he actually gets the quirk, I'm like, oh, I didn't think you were actually gonna get the quirk. I thought it was gonna be Batman, the whole time you just gotta make do with what you have. And I find that that's what it meant for me, like, as much. And I love it. I love it so much. I also have like friends and people that I bonded over with, now me and you, and it's just like I would have never gotten here if I didn't like go back and like give it another chance. And I'm like, I've learned to be like, okay girl, calm down, give it 2-3 more episodes and see what it is then.
Yeah, let somebody figure out what they're telling the story, because like sometimes even these creators don't know week to week. They're trying to like keep their poll numbers up in the weekly magazines, and you're like, okay, cool. I had the same similar thing happen with like Kagurabachi, where I read the first chapter, I was like, this isn't for me, and then I let a few more chapters go by, and I was like, let's binge read the first 12, like get through 3 volumes worth basically or more, and I was like, okay. I still don't know if this is my thing, but I'm gonna keep going with it because this like power system is really cool, and I'm interested enough. But all right, like I can see why people dig this. It may not be for me, and that's okay. And if something isn't for you after you try something, like that's totally valid and fine. Like everybody can like what they like. Just but also let people like what they like without making them feel bad.
Yes. A train that I've been on lately in a lot of my work is, I think, figuring things out for yourself. Like that, I think a lot of people are like, well, this person liked it and this person didn't like it. And should I watch this? Is it mid or not? And I think it's okay to watch something and not like it. It's okay to read 3 volumes and be like, you know what? This isn't for me. But it's like you have to go through that journey to figure it out. And I feel like no one wants to do that anymore. And it's like, oh, it's just waste time. And it's like, I've seen a whole anime seasons where I was like, you know what? That's not for me. But I'm not like, oh, I wasted so much time. It's like, nah, now I know about this. Now I could go on. Now I know something I don't like. Now I can go and hone in and see what I actually do like.
Yeah, and that's something that you could also utilize when you're giving recommendations as well, as being like, well, I watched this and it wasn't for me, but maybe you're gonna like it because it sounds like it's more up the alley of what you're looking for. And so, like, you can still kind of give those nice recommendations without trashing something completely. But that's an old comic shop seller back of the counter thing of like, you never want to trash anything because you never know what someone's first introduction to you or the medium is going to be. So trying to keep it as neutral and positive as possible is always a winner. Just be cool, bro. Be cool and let people like what they like.
See, I like that. As we're wrapping up, I mean, you blew my mind with the whole comics thing, but is there any other like fun fact or any random thing that you know about My Hero that many of us plebeians wouldn't know?
I don't think so. I think I'm on the ride with you guys, to be honest. Like, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't want to spoil into the manga at all, which is I'm not going to do. So, I don't know. I think I'm just enamored by what Studio Bones has been able to do with the last couple seasons. Like, and you haven't seen incredible. Season 7 yet. It's been incredible. It's just so good. And I think that was such a really good pair up for that. And like clearly it felt like Shueisha knew what they were doing with My Hero. Like it was primed to be one of those next like big 3 as they call it. I wonder if they thought it was going to be that big, or if like even Horikoshi is like, oh no.
It's incredible. But this isn't on the questions, but are you into vigilantes?
Yes, I love Vigilantes. I read Vigilantes like as it was coming out, and was so like I was bummed. I was like, they're never gonna animate Vigilantes. Like they never do the side stories. And then they were like, Vigilantes coming out on Crunchyroll, and I was like, what? You guys are not prepared to see like the whole backstory, because it takes place like 10 years before the My Hero story, so characters are younger. Everyone is like new in their professional careers, like having young Aizawa and like learning about the backstory that you only got like little bits and pieces of in all of My Hero. I'm not going to say it because I don't know if it's canonically where you're at. So, but like figuring out their backstory with their friend and all of this crazy stuff, and like seeing what that story actually unfolds like in Vigilantes is going to break people's hearts, especially since it's going to be timed after My Hero being over, and we're going to know. So you're going to be like, cool, if you hated on Kurogiri, be prepared not to hate on Kurogiri because it's not his fault or their fault. It is a situation of society and one of the darker aspects of it. Like Vigilantes was so fun and so good. I loved how it tied into My Hero. I hope that means that if they're gonna animate Vigilantes, that maybe we'll get Team Up Mission in the future, to get a little bit more of the side stories, because like Team Up Mission is actually like them at school being students.
Oh, is that another
it's a spin-off. Another manga spin-off where it's them going on missions, being students, like the thing that you think My Hero Academia is going to be about. There's like even like an illustration concept by Kohei Horikoshi where it's like Mineta Midoriya and Bakugo, and Minetta's just like, man, my hero is pretty dark. And they're like, yeah, we're actually students in this one. Like, it's so cute and fun. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's get that animated.
Oh, I love that. I saw Vigilantes. I actually did a deep dive on my YouTube channel about the first season, but like my thoughts on it, like about the, because I'm always like, what's my deeper meaning, and like the story of adulthood's told in that story. And I was so happy that they announced like season 2, right? Like they were like, girl, we come back for season 2 because it's so good. It's such a different perspective, and I love the characters in it. I love Kochi. He's just so cool. I know he doesn't think so, but he's so cool. And everyone is just
the
pop
Deku
step
arc as well.
Yes,
Yeah, like.
they're so, and I like how different he is though from Deku too. Like he just was kind of like the fact that he was moonlighting, and they were like, oh yeah, Mr. Nice Guy picking up trash, and I was like, you literally were like, I'm gonna do what I can, and if that means picking up trash, like at least I'm picking up trash.
Yeah,
I
and like
love
the
him.
episode with like his mom like smacking him down because it's
Yes.
like, oh, he's flying, is smacking him down, and it's like the fact that you didn't want to deal with a kid that had a powerful quirk in that way because you yourself as a parent didn't know if you could manage it correctly, and so now you have like psychologically scarred your kid into his mid-20s. Like,
Yes.
what is this society? But it's very really like very real to our own in many respects, and it's so good. The whole universe is good. Like, I'm sad that it's over because it means we don't get to play in the universe as much anymore. But the fact that we have Vigilantes and we have Team Up Mission, that at least expands our world a little bit. And maybe we'll get extra movies as well. Now that we know that like the movies are kind of canon too, since like a couple of things. But I'm not going to go into that. But
You're like,
again.
I will spare you. Yeah,
it'll be cool when you see it.
I was actually surprised that Vigilantes, I mean, I knew that it was a manga. I knew when it was coming out, but I was surprised that they did it like at the same time. Like I thought they would have waited for like My Hero to be over, and then when they announced it was coming out like towards, I mean, like My Hero's still ongoing, so I was like, wow, that blew me by surprise, because sometimes I feel like the spin-offs, they'll do it after to be like, hey, don't forget about this universe, like we're still here. And they were like, no, actually we believe in this and we want it at the same time. I was like,
I wonder
that's
how
incredible.
much of that is timed with like the Aizawa present Mike story being tied into the climax and the final fight. If that needs to, like, they're timing it in a way to where you get that backstory and you don't have to wait like an extended period of time to be like, oh. But also having it come out around the same time as the ending of another series just amplifies its position in the conversation and community. So it came at a really interesting time. I just never thought they'd animate. It was not on my bingo card of things they'd animate, because we saw how well people responded to Boruto, like, you know, those types of spin-offs. But it's so additive to the world.
I can't wait to get, like, I'm just like, okay, when is the season coming out? Because I like loved it too. That makes me so, and it makes me again look forward to reading the mangas and stuff, because I'm just like, okay, like what's happening? Like I'm always like, I have like this thing that I do, like when so I watched the anime's done. All right, I watched the manga, I read the manga's done. Now I'm going onto the forums. What were they saying at this time when this episode, like, I'm like, and then I gotta do the Tumblr deep dive. Then I'm like, I need all the pieces of the tussle.
You're gonna find Tumblr out deep about dive the Hot Wings tag.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. So I'm ready. I can't wait to experience it again in that way. That's gonna be like so fun. But all good things come to an end. I love that. And I'm so excited that we had this conversation. I couldn't have picked. Same. I love having like conversations, and this is why I formatted the show this way, with people about what they love, because it's like that's how you get to see the best of them. Although I really thought you were really cool beforehand, so I was like, yeah,
same to you. I mean, we've been on panels before together, and I was like, who is this queen?
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. I'm so happy that we were on that panel together. But now, as we're wrapping up, is there any personal projects, work projects, or anything that you would like to tell people to go check out? And if you have your socials that you want to promote, what can we look forward to?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that Square Enix Manga and Books is working on right now is we publish Demons of the Shadow Realm by Hiromu Arakawa. That is the creator of Fullmetal Alchemist. I believe at New York Comic Con, we announced that the anime for Demons of the Shadow Realm will be premiering in April. for two
Oh, I
consecutive
didn't know
cours.
that.
Yeah, it is sick. And also, I'm sorry, my cat has decided
It's okay.
that she now wants to be part of this. Hi, baby.
All the children. I had to kick my cat out of here. For same reasons.
But what's exciting about the animation itself is that it's reuniting Hiromu Arakawa with Studio Bones and Aniplex, which were the original team that worked on Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So it is going to be lit. It is going to be so sick. It's so good. And the series itself is kind of that slow burn story, very Hiromu Arakawa-esque, Full Metal Alchemist-esque, and, it instills those feelings of nostalgia of reading Full Metal Alchemist again with having a brand new twist. It's more supernatural in nature. I don't want to spoil it for anybody because there is like an A24 level twist in the first chapter that like blows your mind and completely changes the story. But if you really like Full Metal Alchemist, you like the concept of siblings saving the world. Yudu and Asa are twins that are separated at birth. They're able to control these demon pairs called these supernatural duos called daemons. Everyone's got different ones. They are based off like Japanese yokai. They're based off of urban legends. They are badass house pets in some instances. Like they're really, really cool. And it is them realizing that they are not necessarily being fed the right information and having to come together to figure it out after being separated for a really long period of time. But it's Hiromu Arakawa. They're the GOAT. They're amazing. It's going to be so good. It looks so good. So please, please, please check that out if you like shonen manga, if you like Hiromu Arakawa, if you like Full Metal Alchemist. Like, spring is going to be lit. Like, it's going to be so good. I can't wait for people to see it and check it out. But yeah, I mean, in terms of that, like, follow us on Square Enix, at Square Enix Books on multiple channels. We are on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Blue Sky. If you want to hear me yell about manga and anime into the void, see pictures of my cat, I am Goda on all platforms. That's Geauxta. Yeah, I like to keep it positive over there, though, but it's all about manga and fun stuff.
Yes, well, I love that as a fellow screamer into the void and getting all our information. So thank you so much again for doing this show. Everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. And if you like this episode, be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and do all the things that help social media stuff grow. But that was awesome. Well, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.